This is UMass basketball.
I know this. I'm the most animated coach that you've probably ever seen in my team.
Thompson in the front court. Thompson will lay it in. And one. Hey, he's just being Frank.
That is right. It is time for another episode of Just Being Frank. The summer sessions here in Amherst, brought to you by our friends at the Massachusetts Collective. My name's Jay Burnham, voice of the Minutemen, alongside head coach of UMass men's basketball, Frank Martin. Coach, how you doing?
I thought you took another job. I've been on the road recruiting. I mean, losing my mind trying to figure out all this new legislation that keeps coming out every day about the direction of our sport. I never see you.
We're ships crossing in the night. Because, you were on the road for a while recruiting, right? You were out for a week.
But, the guy that I get to talk to that, doesn't, hate me all the time because they don't like my decisions, left me hanging. I'm like, where's my guy?
I'm here for you now, Coach. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about in terms of this House settlement, where it just feels like things are happening behind the scenes, and then we get these drips of information. We could talk about that. We can talk about your team here and kind of their cohesion over the summer. But we have to start with our pommel horse champion from Worcester, Mass. Steven Nedorosik brought home the gold for the UMass gymnastics team. What a specialist, huh? You got one job, you come in and do it.
I sit around and talk with my wife about this a lot because she was a track athlete. And track athletes, when you're a track athlete, what is your shining moment? The Olympics. And you train, and gymnasts are the same way. So you train. No one's really watching. No one knows what you're doing. There's not 30 games a year like we have where people can see what we're up to for 4 years. And all of a sudden, it's that one moment that you have to perform. And all it takes is a little mistake, and all that training goes out the window. There's not another game to play. And I got emotional watching that. The Olympics mean a lot to me. It comes from my grandmother. The whole, everyone chanting USA and the fact that they hadn't medaled in 16 years and it came down to the specialist performance on the one event that he does. And then he not only did he do well, he knocks it out of the park and solidifies a medal. And then watching the joy, because remember now, those guys are competitors. It's an individual sport. Those guys are all competing against each other to see who's the best American gymnast and the best in the world. They're not it's not like I'm the point guard, you're the two guard, and I'm gonna pass you the ball and make jump shots. No, I'm trying to beat you every time we go. But in the joy that those guys had in their individual work to medal for a collective will of USA. Man, I got emotional. It made me think of my grandmother and watching the Olympics with her. She hated Russia for obvious reasons, going back to the whole Cuba deal. Yep. and communism so she was a proud American, and she'd sit there and chant USA with everybody. It made me emotional watching that last night.
It was really cool to see the guy from Worcester too, Steven just knock it out of the park. Because watching these things is always so interesting for me from a broadcast standpoint. And as soon as he dismounted, the analyst just knew immediately that was enough to get the job, which is kind of sometimes an arbitrary, scoring system, but they knew right away. That's how dominant his performance was.
It was powerful. And by the way, how about I had to tell our Worcester representative, Jake Hayden, that guy's from Worcester. Jake had no idea, and they're about the same age. I'm like, Jesus. But
what are you doing, Jake?
Oh my God! If you actually, Jay, go back and watch when I didn't see this the first time, but as the replays are being shown and they show the end of his routine in slow motion, before he comes off, you can see it in his face.
Yeah.
He's on one hand straight up in the air, and you can see it in his face. He knows, like, I just got it done. And I'm getting goosebumps talking to you about it right now.
You know, you mentioned something there at the beginning that I think is really important because it's a lot of life learning lessons, of course, from you throughout. A lot of life is what you do when people aren't watching, and the work you put in when people aren't paying attention and cheering for you. And in those sports, you're right. Your moment only comes, there's championships and whatnot, but really the majority of people aren't paying attention until you get to this stage. And so it can almost feel like you're doing things in a vacuum, right? Where do you start questioning, why am I spending all my time doing this? Why am I, really killing myself to compete? You really have to be driven and self-motivated.
Yeah, there's a reason they're all called the Olympic sports. So when you refer to the Olympic sports, everyone refers to them under that umbrella because everybody pays attention to those sports now. I was watching, I love watching swimming, and I'm pretty sure it was the 100 fly, and the two American women went gold, silver.
1 or 2, yeah.
And the one that was supposed to win came in second. And the one that missed the medal 4 years ago by .01 was like in third place coming off the turn, and she swam everybody down and got to the wall first. And it's like, wow, man, like, it's you train and train and train and train, and all it takes is that moment. Like, like let's say Rasul Diggins. Let's pick on him because he's my guy and he's been with us now going for 3 years. 2 years ago when he got here, he had okay moments and he had not so okay moments, but he always had another game. And as soon as that season ended, he had another season. These Olympic sports people, the athletes, excuse me, their moment to shine, to show everybody they're training, happens once every 4 years. Yep. And they still got to qualify to get on in that moment. And it's powerful stuff, man. And that's where the greatness of Carl Lewis, Usain Bolt, Mark Spitz, Luganis in diving. How do I forget his name?
Yeah.
He won 23 medals. Michael Phelps.
Yeah.
Like their greatness to be able to do it like that. Like, wow. Like it's powerful stuff.
Have you been able to watch the men's basketball performances, and what has been your, opinion on those games?
Yeah, I watched about 4 or 5 minutes in the game against Serbia. I truly think, and I tell my children this, I tell my players, they just think I'm a crusty old boring guy. It's that it takes time for the American pros, the NBA guys, to get used to playing international basketball because it's a lot more physical. That means the referees call a lot less fouls. The rules are slightly different. That means there's goaltending that like you can't goaltend in the NBA, but you can in international basketball. There's no defensive rules, so ISO basketball doesn't work. So it takes time for them to adapt. I didn't watch their exhibition games. I watched that Serbia game. I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes of it in the first half. Right when KD went on that run there in the first half, where he just wasn't missing anything. But that's it. I haven't watched yet.
Do you listen to any of the chatter about like who should be on the team and who's not on the team? I feel like obviously here in the Boston market and the mass market, it just feels like that's all they talk about.
Well, they should. I mean, if you're in the Boston market and you're not mad because Jaylen Brown's not on the team, then you're not really a basketball fan or a Celtic fan. It is what it is. Now, who gets on the team and all that. I mean, I've been a part of USA Basketball, and it was part of the World University Games, where it was all college eligible athletes that were on the team. And the hardest thing we had to do was cut from 16 to 12. I mean, that was really, really hard. And then you know what was harder than that? Figure out what guys to play and not play, because all 12 are pretty good players. And you do it with 7 days of practice, and because that's how long camp was, 7 days. So it's complicated. It's not easy. Why guys get left off and put on? I mean, why was Isaiah Thomas not on the team back when Michael Jordan and those guys played? And Isaiah Thomas, if you were to ask me, take one guy 6 feet and under on your team today, right now, of all time, it's Isaiah Thomas. And it's not even, for me, it's him, Tiny Archibald. Not even close to anybody
Where's
else.
Iverson in that category?
He's next, but I don't think he's in the same category as Isaiah Thomas. It's and Tiny. I mean, who leads the NBA in scoring and assists at 6 feet? Like, seriously. So it's I don't know. It's you can sit here and go, only certain number of people know why why guys are on or off the team. I'm not one of them, and speculating is not. I don't like when people speculate about me and my team, so I'm not going to speculate about others.
Speaking of your team, as we record this at the end of July, you guys have another week here on campus. You'll then kind of take a break and come back at the end of August and really just get into it for good. So what have you seen from this squad now, a couple weeks here in this second session? What's been the schedule? How often have you guys been practicing, and what have you liked from them so far?
Yeah, I mean, we've missed 2 guys all summer, and Malek and Amadou. They'll be with us August 25th. Amadou had some academic stuff that had to get cleared up through the NCAA clearinghouse, and it has, and so he's good to go. And Malek is good to go also. He had some a visa. He hadn't seen his family in 4 years, and so he it was important to him to go home before this last hurrah with us, and I fully supported it. The thing is that at his age, you have military service that's demanded of you in this country. So he needed to start his visa process from scratch. And by the time it all got figured out, it made no sense to come here to be here for 10 days. So I said, let's just wait till August 25th and let's start from scratch then. But everybody else has been here. Ultra competitive, Jay. I mean, the returning players are all better, which is what I look for. I'm a growth guy. When guys aren't getting better, that's when I get a little worried. That's when I start wondering, is my message not working, or are they up to no good? So it's everybody's better. Rasul's been an unbelievable team leader. Just in the way he's attacked this whole off season, and the way he's just goes about his business on a daily basis, and you go from him down, and every one of those guys, it is a much better place than they were a year ago. And then the first year guys are just unbelievably competitive. I mean, from Daniel Rivera to Akil Watson to Shaheed to then the trio of freshmen, Luka, Nate, and Lewis Walker. I mean, those 3 guys have been it's been fun, man. These guys, they stay in the gym. They don't. I can't get. Yeah. Usually, I'm begging guys to come in. I can't get guys to leave here now.
I think they're in the background right now and shooting. Yeah. I saw Raleigh in there earlier. You've been talking about, correct me if I'm wrong on this connection, but you've been talking about Rasul Diggins this year and this offseason. I think it little bit mirrors how you were speaking about Matt Cross and his leadership and how he approached things a year ago heading into the season. Do you see that similarity with him kind of taking the mantle in that regard?
Absolutely, and that's the way it works, no doubt. Jay, everybody wants to always fix things with the new guys. Like, everyone loves the new recruits. Oh, my God. It's like we get bored with the toy that we already have that's really good. And, I said this the other day. A year ago, we had 3 returning players, and Keon, Rasul, and Matt. and all three had bought into the work. All three had bought into the direction, but they didn't. They had not been responsible for being on a winning college team. Rasul was a part of UConn's winning DNA, but he really had nothing to do with it, and that's why he left. And Matt and Keon was at finished his freshman year, and Matt was a guy who had not won at Miami, not won at Louisville, and obviously we didn't. We were okay his first year here, but just 500. I mean, it is what it is. But last year's team now, their leadership from a work ethic standpoint, from a direction standpoint, helped all the new guys. And then we went out and we learned to win. As the season went on, the season taught us to be winners. And so now the returning guys have the work ethic and the understanding of winning connected. And that's where Rasul now is taking the baton from Matt Cross, for lack of better words. And he's at peace at like, oh, everything I did off season last year, it worked. And it worked where it helped us win. And I saw what Matt did. And I can't do it like Matt because we're two different people, but I can do it like Rasul. And just be connected to Frank and the staff to make sure that we're headed in the right direction, and that's what he's done.
What kind, I think, presumably, as people look at this roster, you see Jalen Curry as a guy that is one of those players that you hope takes the next step. We certainly saw it at times a year ago, and now he's the point guard for your team. What is his ceiling as a player, and have you seen that growth in a guy like him who's going to be, integral in your success this year?
Yeah, Jay Curry's he's a good player. I mean, I said it the day we signed him. I was really patient in his recruiting, not because I was worried about his abilities. I was patient because it's a kid from Charlotte that's a good player, asking him to come to Massachusetts. I needed to make sure that he was all gung-ho about being here, not coming here to see how fast he can leave here. And he was all gung-ho about being here. And when the season ended, in a moment in time, and this is not me talking about players in our program, it's just the conversations that go on across the country with everybody, where everyone's talking about NIL money and their value and what they can, what they're worth and what they need. Jay Curry said, help me be a better teammate. Help me be a better leader. That's what he wanted to do. And he's worked really hard. And this time last year, he'd walk around with headphones on and wouldn't really talk to anybody because it's kind of his personality. He's a quiet kid. Now he's in practice and he's out there talking, complimenting people. He's grown as a player, and he's really, and he's tough as nails now. He is tough as nails. He is fearless of the moment. I don't care how big the moment is. He don't run from it. And so he's got the characteristics of all. I've been fortunate of having a lot of really, really good point guards in my career, going back to my high school days, whether it was Steve Blake or a guy named Bethune Fletcher, who you have no idea who that is. And then you move fast forward to college, whether it been J.J. Barea or Angel Rodriguez or Denny Clemente or Jacob Pullen, P.J. Dozier, Dwayne Notice, and Darius, all those guys. I've been fortunate, even here when I first got here, having a guy like Noah Fernandez around, who was a really good player. I've been fortunate to have really good point guards. Keon Thompson, his growth the last 2 years was phenomenal in our development as a program. Jay Curry's right in there with those guys. He's a really good player.
Yeah, I was going to say, there are some similarities just in recent history when I looked at Noah Fernandez and how he was so unafraid in those big moments to take the shot and put it all on his shoulders. And you see that even last year as a freshman for Jalen Curry. Is there something in someone's DNA that just, like me, sometimes it'd be like, well, maybe I'm afraid of letting people down and failing, but there's some other mentality for these guys where they're not afraid. They want that shot. And it feels like he has that kind of that makeup.
Yeah, I don't think that's something that you don't read a book and get yourself ready for that one.
Yeah.
It's got to go hand in hand with personalities. You know, it's just plain and simple. It's personality. But we have to be who we're at peace with being. You know, some people are aggressive personalities, some people are passive personalities, some people are loud, some people are quiet. We can't you can't put yourself in spaces that you're not comfortable being in, because then you can't maximize who you are because you're just uncomfortable. Guys like him, they're comfortable in that space, and so they're at peace with the moment. That, you know, in the coaching business, there's some guys that are great assistants that don't like the day-to-day behind the scenes nonsense that head coaches deal with. And when they have to, they're never at peace. And if you're not at peace dealing with head coach responsibilities, then you can't be at peace coaching your team. And so I think it all goes hand in hand. And as we go through life, we figure out that space of finding where we're at peace with our responsibilities, so we can be as good as we can possibly be at whatever we're trying to do.
All right. So as I mentioned in the open there's just a constant drip of news talking about the ever-changing NCAA, and this is an issue that I think we'll dive deeper into. We'll talk with Ryan Bamford and some others around the university, but we'll start with you, Coach. The settlement, we kind of touched on this a couple of shows ago, where there's almost $3 billion that the NCAA and its affiliated schools are going to have to pay out through this House settlement. And through the whole process, the rules are changing within the structure of the NCAA. So, as I understand it, there's a revenue sharing option that teams eventually will be able to buy into that will then allow you to play under a different set of scholarship rules. So that could happen as early as 2025, 2026. It could affect your sport in a couple different ways. So what do you know about this? And am I explaining that accurately?
Yeah, I mean, I've got my own set of problems in trying to recruit and hire people and manage my responsibilities. I'm, you know, so I don't I'm not as knowledgeable as I need to be in all that new stuff going on.
You mean you
But
haven't read all 333 pages of this settlement?
I struggle reading 37 pages. It's um, I just know that there's change coming. I've known it for a while. There's no way that the world that's been created the last couple of years that it can sustain. I'm excited. You've heard me say this. I'm excited to see if my old school values and caring about relationships and player development and watching 18-year-olds become 22-year-olds, which is always what's driven me. If all those things still matter in a world where everything has become a transaction, I'm excited to figure it out. But now you ask me a question that pertains to what I think is going to be the separation of the haves and have-nots in college athletics, and Ryan Bamford and Javier Reyes are all in, and so when we had the conversation back in late winter, early spring, whenever it was, about the move to the MAC and what it meant, there's a plan in place. There's a plan in place by the people that run this place, the university system, the university, and the athletic department. They're all in with making UMass nationally relevant. And that's why I'm still here. I mean, I'm lucky that I work for people that believed in me, that hired me a little over 2 years ago, and they've chosen to put a new contract in front of me and put our program in a really good place. And all they've asked was, what do I think? And all I've told them is, I'm all in. You guys convinced me you wanted this place to be great again. And by the way, like in a presidential campaign year, I just use a slogan that like people
Yeah.
are probably going to start like jumping all over the place.
You know what?
But
It applies here, though. It certainly
can
does.
we hit rewind?
No.
Because you know I don't do politics, so
Yeah,
can we hit
no,
rewind?
but
I don't
I
want to
think
get
everybody
dropped on.
understands what you mean because there are certainly moments in this school's history where we were at the top of a variety of sports and trying to
Yeah,
get back to that level for sure.
absolutely. And then Don Brown signed up to come here for the third time,
Yeah.
and he wouldn't have done it to just be irrelevant. He works too hard to take a job to be irrelevant. And you're around him as I am. Does he look like a guy that's on a retirement job? Like, no. So the leadership of this school is all in to making this place great. That's why I'm happy to be here. That's why when that contract is put in front of me, I didn't second guess it. That's why, moving forward, I have no doubt that all these decisions being made are going to be for the benefit of UMass in the long term, because the people running it are committed to making UMass nationally relevant, and not just in one sport, across the board.
Yeah.
So I applaud our leadership, because the easy thing to do is to have said, we don't know how we're going to be able to generate that revenue. But instead, they've chosen the other one.
Let me set this up as just as we were coming on, Ryan Bamford, our director of athletics, who has been amazing to the both of us, tweeted out. And so this is why I really wanted to kind of get into this. And I think this news started to trickle out last week. And Coach, I was off grid this weekend down in West Virginia. So I'm just getting my arms around it all as we speak. But he said, without hesitation, UMass Athletics will embrace the House settlement outcomes for the future of college athletics. That means adopting new roster limits for our 21 sports and creating revenue sharing opportunities for our student athletes as early as 2025, 2026. The roster thing is the thing that I think is first and foremost, where you look at soccer. I think for men's soccer, you can have 9.9 scholarships divvied up amongst your team. They're getting rid of that. And now it's going to be, you can have whatever the roster limit will be, and that's as many scholarships as you can give out, but you can't have more players than that on your team. For your sport specifically, I think it goes up to 15 scholarship players. Is that where we're at? However, it limits the amount of, I guess, walk-on guys that you would normally have on the team. So what do you think about kind of stretching or adding the scholarships on the men's basketball side?
Take me home.
That's where I was.
West
Yeah.
Virginia.
You ever been to Harper's Ferry? Oh, it's great.
Jeez, like Jay, you got me. I just talked to Coach Huggins the other day.
Oh,
And
man.
you're talking West Virginia.
Well, I was scouting out our game down there this year.
Oh,
Lay of the land.
you got me singing in public too. Like I'd never sing in public. I'm the worst singer. But no, here's it's. I'm happy that all this scholarship nonsense is out. Like, it should be up to the school to how many scholarships they're willing to commit. Not I don't have that answer. I'm happy with those decisions. Here's what I don't like. Why are you limiting, if there's people on this campus that are paying their own way to go to school here, that are viable basketball players, why are you going to limit their opportunity to be on a roster? That they can elevate their experience in college because they're part of an athletic team just because they're not on scholarship. Like, I'm really struggling with that one. Either we have Title IX or we don't. But we can't split that baby, and so I don't have all the details on that. I know that in our sport, it's going to be capped at 15, and Ryan and I have not sat down to speak to see if we're going to have 15 scholarships or 13 scholarships, which is what presently exists for men's basketball. I've been a big advocate that everyone likes to use Title IX to protect women's sports. I get it. I'm the husband of a track athlete, and she's the mother of a Division I volleyball player. I'm all for it. I'm not against Title IX, but I also if it exists for you, it's got to exist for me. Women's basketball's always been at 15 scholarships. We're 13. We're an equivalency sport. Why are we being impacted that way? Don't hurt me because we're trying to figure out a way to make football fit. And I've been against that the whole time. We should have 15 scholarships just like women do. So I'm glad that going out the window. So, Ryan's going to have to make that decision. And I don't want to speak for him, but I think we'll go to 15 scholarships. My problem is with why are
Capping the roster.
Jay Burnham and Frank Martin are solid high school players that achieved academic success to be admitted at UMass. And our dream was always to be a student at UMass and to play basketball at UMass. And we're good players. Why are we not going to be afforded that opportunity? That I don't understand. That I think is irresponsible. That I think is bad business. Unless we're headed to employment. Yeah. And if we're headed to employment, that's why in professional sports you don't have walk-ons in the NFL and the NBA. You used to have a taxi squad. I don't know what they call it now.
They still have it, yeah, taxi squad.
Okay. Yeah. But that's why you got, because if that's where we're going, then I get it.
Let me big picture this because as I understand it, again, there's going to be an opt-in for schools, and I think it's going to be a dividing line for the group of 5 where you have revenue sharing opportunities, or you're a school that doesn't. And if you have if you opt in for the revenue sharing, then you can have the increased roster limits, which includes baseball going from 11.7 to 34. As you mentioned, basketball. There's cross country from 5 to 17 for the men, 6 to 17 for the women. Field hockey goes from 12 to 27, which is a huge increase. Ice hockey, of course, which is impacted here, 18 to 26. I'm sure Coach Carve will love that. And just from reading the tea leaves here of what Ryan has said, this is going to be something that UMass pushes the chips into. And I think this is a power move by the university, and you said it because of the leadership here, but it's going to create some haves and have-nots, and it feels like UMass is saying, hey, look, we're going to get behind this, and we're going to be one of the haves and do what we can to, as you said, get back to our glory days here. Doesn't this seem like an indicative move of being a large commitment by the university to the athletics department?
Oh, absolutely. Think about all those increases in scholarships. That means that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you have to create the revenue that you're going to distribute amongst the athletes, there's no other way to word it, the pay for play part of it. Yeah. That's a lot of money. That's not peanuts. And so that's why I'm telling you, I got my own issues, man. I got to recruit guys to come in here and figure out a way to get them to go to class, get them to be part of the community and give back and stay out of trouble. And I don't know about you, Jay, but when I was 18, 19, I wasn't a bad guy, but it's easy to get in trouble at that age. It's the age that we're all trying to figure stuff out, and we do stupid stuff and say stupid things, thinking that never bites you back. All our guys have to go through that. So I'm trying to manage all that, and I think that's a lot. Imagine being Ryan Bamford and having to manage what you just described.
Yeah.
It's a
lot.
That's why we all have to be connected here, because this change that's coming up, it's going to be different for everybody. And we can't internally, we got to be at peace that we're all making decisions to make us better. Just the same way we started this conversation today. USA Gymnastics has a guy on the team that does one event. That's it. And he did his part, and that brought unbelievable joy to a group of guys. Well, it's got to be the same way here. We can't sit around and worry about what School A in whatever conference does and what School B in the other conference does. We have to as we go through this moment that we're in right now, Javier Reyes has decisions he's got to make. Ryan has decisions he's got to make. Carvey's got decisions. I got decisions. Don Brown got decisions. Go on down the line. As we all manage this new norm that's coming our way, that continue. And by the way, it's my opinion. Whatever's coming here for the next 2 years, it's going to change again. It's going to continue to take a new shape because it's all new. And it's going to take it's going to be a completely different model than what we've known for the last 60 years. So we'll see. We'll but the one thing we have to do is we all share that brand. We can't start questioning in each other. We have to be all in on the decisions that we all make and have powerful, honest conversations behind the scenes to make sure that we all understand the decisions that we're all making.
So we will, I think I'll try to dive into this a little bit more, see if we can get Ryan to kind of discuss his thoughts behind the whole thing. I thought that was a big piece of news for UMass, and I think it's an exciting time in college athletics. It's a scary time too, right? As you said, hey, with every football TV contract, the rules might continue to change. It's just the world that we live in. And so you have to kind of silo these things too when you're getting guys, as you just said, you got to go out recruiting, you got to get them to class. I know some of the guys are taking summer classes here. And I think the freshmen that I talked with, they've got a class that they've been taking. So it's a good opportunity for them to kind of get acclimated to, the academic side of being in college.
Yeah. Here's the complicated part. I'm still internally. People on the outside, they've never cared about whether my guys go to class or not. None. Because if that mattered, I'd be as highest paid coach as there is in the country. Because that matters to me and my guys go to class. But they've never cared. Nor will they ever. They just care about, are you recruiting the right guys and are you winning enough games? If not, get out. But internally, the people I answer to, I'm still being held accountable to make sure my guys are not getting arrested because they're out in the bar scene or doing stupid stuff out in the community. My guys don't go to class. I'm still being held accountable for that, for those responsibilities. If guys don't do their academic work, the NCAA is still holding our program responsible for APR, which is the academic formula which will take scholarships away from you if guys are not eligible or do not stay in your school. So all the rules that I internally have to, my responsibilities have not changed, but yet everything on the outside, everything that's expected from the outside has changed. And, I've always said this, if you, when you're in that, we just talked about that age group, 17, 18, 19, work ethic is not really in place yet at that time period. And most people, they work and they're responsible, but they don't understand how to work every day. And we're starting to compensate people before they develop a work ethic or an understanding for work ethic. And when you compensate people before they learn to work, you're opening up a hole that might swallow someone up. It's more important to learn how to work before you worry about being compensated. And I'm all for it. I had a job when I was 12 years old. Okay, so I don't say that to make it sound like I'm some kind of like different breed. No, it's just my walk of life. What I'm saying is, I got no problem with people making money at a young age. We just got to be careful that we don't get people overvaluing who they are at such a young age, where all of a sudden we come back to reality, and now you have to take a real 60-hour-a-week job and you struggle with it. So I know I just went off on a tangent on you there.
I want to dive into that. I want because I want to share. We'll share each other's first job. What was the first job you had, and how much money did it pay?
Oof. Uh,
I had a job here up in the hill towns of Western Mass, picking blueberries, and not like the blueberries that are on a bush like chest high. The bush berries, they're down, and you got to get down on a knee, and they give you like this big fork thing with tines, and you scoop them out, and you put them in a barrel, and you got $2 per bushel
mm,
all day long picking blueberries.
boy. My first real job was collecting subscriptions for the Miami Herald. I think I was 12 years old. I'm pretty sure I was 12 years old. A van would imagine trusting that in today's day and age, in the moment we're in right now. A van would park at the street corner, and me and a couple other guys in the neighborhood would get in the van, and they'd take us to some neighborhood and just drop us off. And we go door to door selling subscriptions. And for every subscription we sold, they paid us $1. Um,
You've always
that
been in the
was
media then.
For
Yeah.
but the problem is that the older I get in it for the wrong reasons. It's
Hmm.
when I was young, I was trying to sell the media for the right reasons, and um, but that you got me thinking. I hadn't thought
That's a
about
lot
that.
of doors slammed in your face, man. I've
Oh
done something similar. That's not a good feeling.
no. I'm trying to. I'm 99% sure that was my first job, but that time period between 12 and 15, I did all kinds of jobs. Um, you know, so um, yeah, that's. I'm pretty sure that was my first one.
As we as we close this out here.
Hey, by the way,
Yeah.
the same way that if when I was 19, 20, if I would have been a bartender at that age, it would have been a losing proposition for my boss because I would have, for every beer I sold, I would have drank two. Um, I love blueberries, so if I'd been there with you, I I would have just at this age I'd never eat a blueberry again because I'd like crush bushels of blueberry with you back
We used to have the guy who owned the place. I guess that was my second job. I Paper Route, first one. You reminded me of that. The old farmer would sit there, and if you didn't get all the blueberries off the bush, he'd start yelling at you, "Pick them clean," and then he'd give you a swift kick in the butt. And then
then.
at noon, they'd have a cannon that would shoot off, and that was time for lunch. Anyway, we're much better place here at the University of Massachusetts talking with you, Coach. All right, so what are some of the things you've got a week left to work with these guys? I'll chat with you next week, hopefully. What are some of the things that you're trying to implement? You're still working on that structure. I see through these practices. What's in there in that sauce that you're trying to concoct here next couple days.
Yeah, this is where college basketball's gotten interesting. We talked earlier about the adjustment NBA guys have to make when they play international basketball because they don't play that on a regular basis when all the international guys always play under those rules, even if they play in the NBA. High school basketball has gotten really watered down with structure. Kids don't practice. I don't consider a workout the same thing as practice. Workout is when you go by yourself and you get a workout in, whether you're working on ball handling, shooting, some of these circus drills that these people have these kids do today's day and age that there's not a single coach that would ever accept some of the nonsense that these kids are being taught in a team practice. Practice is when you actually have to coexist with four other guys on the court. That's practice. It's different than a workout. Um, in high school, we've really watered down practices. We have a lot more workouts. So what happens is kids only know how to play with the ball in their hands.
Right.
We have spent a lot of the summer teaching guys how to learn how to play off the ball, how to cut, how to move, how to screen, the angle for a screen, how to read coverages whenever you're screening, because it's so important because you cannot rely on setting a ball screen for your best player every time down the floor. Is there times that that's what you do? Yes. If that's all you do, you become predictable, easy to defend. And whenever you're easy to defend, it makes the other team, it gives the other team an advantage to win. So I've always believed in player movement and ball movement. And so that's what we've been working on just learning, having guys learn how to cut, that, like, simple things, man. Like, people, like, I don't ever like saying that the common folk or the non-player, that's not fair to use those words describing a fan or somebody that watches TV or has opinions. That to each their own, man. I got nothing but love for everybody. But there's a way to cut. There's the wrong way to cut and the right way to cut. Most kids don't know the right way to cut. And if they cut the right way, they only do it off their dominant foot. They don't know. So that means you can only be a good cutter on one side of the floor, not the other side of the floor.
Is it just like a
laziness?
Is it hey, they don't really
No,
commit
it's
to it?
technique.
Yeah.
It's technique. I mean, if you ever cut off, like, this is the simplest way to explain it. If you ever cut off your inside foot, meaning the foot closest to the rim, it's a bad cut. You're not going to create separation. And you're not as explosive. You have to know how to cut off your outside foot. So anytime you're cutting, and cutting is anytime you're going from the perimeter towards the rim. Anytime you're cutting, you have to go off your outside foot. That makes you explosive. It makes your cut, it doesn't round your cut. It makes your cut an angle, why do you think wide receivers spend so much time on route running?
Yeah.
And why do you think
Create
quarterbacks?
that separation. Yeah.
That's it. And if you cut off the wrong foot, you're not as explosive. And so little things like that. And then what the game was invented this way. The game will always be this way. It's about passing, dribbling, catching, footwork. That's it. Obviously, you got to shoot it. I'm not including that because you need all those other skills before you get to the shot. And so we're working on all those things and then understanding how to play off the ball. We got 1 week and we got workouts today. We got a shooting workout tomorrow. We've got a team workout Thursday. And then next week we go 2 or 3 times. I don't remember. And then the 7th of August is our last workout. And I think the guys are gone on Friday the 9th.
And then they come back 25th or so, end of August.
I think the 27th. We're bringing them in, which was the game plan. We get 8 weeks of workouts in the summer. We did the 2-week boot camp. We called it in June. They left. Then we brought them back for summer 2, where they're actually in class, in structure, academically. And then on the court for 5 weeks. They're going home. And then they come back. We're bringing them back whatever the dates are, which is the first weekend of the year with football plays, Labor Day weekend, all that stuff. We're bringing them back like that Wednesday, and we're having 2 team practices on Thursday and Friday to count as our 8th week. And then give them the weekend off, man, so they can enjoy, help with move-in, help with all that stuff, to coexist as a college student on campus. Go watch Don Brown and the Boys, August 31st, baby. Yeah. Let's go. And away we go. And by the way, Jay, starting to grow hair again.
Coming back.
Starting to grow a little hair again, Jay.
We got to nurture it.
Don't look good on the camera right now, but I'm just telling you now. It's that I might have to go buy a tub of gel again. It's been a while.
Do you think? Well, I mean, you've kind of I've gotten accustomed to the bald Frank look.
No,
you don't like it? No. If you could go back, you would.
I got used to it, but I miss my hair. It's convenient to be bald. I mean, I used to mess with Andy Kennedy all the time, who's been, shaved his head forever, because we'd break the huddle when we're assistants at Cincinnati. We'd go into, practice with break the huddle, team, 1, 2, 3, team. And before I got to the locker room, he was already out of the shower. And I was like, man, how, like, he's like, Frank,
Nothing.
no shampoo, no conditioner, and you soap up the top of your head, your armpits, and the obvious places. We're good to go. I'm going home.
Hold on, but
I learned that one.
I feel like when I see Shaka Smart, I don't think with the hair works as well as the baldness.
Well, but we all knew Shaka coaching with a bald head.
It's true, yeah.
I grew up. My mom loved my hair because I got like real curly, wavy hair, and then my wife loved my when I gelled it and all that stuff, and I enjoyed my hair. Am I used to it? Am I used to it? Like having no hair? Like I have, like up until 6 months ago, Jay, for 3 years, I didn't shave my face. I didn't shave my head. Nothing. I just let go. And now all of a sudden, by the way, the first indication that I had hope that my hair might start growing, my ear hair started growing again. I was like,
of course, that's the first place.
I don't grow facial hair. I don't grow hair on my head, but I got hair on my damn ears. I'm like, why? I'm like having to shave my darn ears.
Oh my goodness.
It looks like I'm back on the facial shave team again. I'm gonna have to start buying shaving cream and razors and all that stuff, and possibly I might have to go back to my old shampoo / conditioner and the gel to take care of business there for games.
All right, we will keep everyone updated on that process. Coach, thanks so much. I hope you get your toes in the sand before the season starts.
We'll do it.
All right. He's head coach Frank Martin. He's Just Being Frank. I'm Jay Burnham. This has been the Just Being Frank podcast brought to you by our friends at the Massachusetts Collective. We'll see you next time from Amherst.